Hey teachers, Rachel Parlett here from the Classroom Nook. I'm going to walk you through your writer's notebook so that you know how to set it up and present it to your students and have them assemble it themselves as well. So I have the cover sheet here. If you use about a 1 inch to a 1.5 inch binder, you should be set for enough space for the entire year. And you can either print out this cover sheet in black and white or in color like you see here. And if you have one of those binders, if your students get one of those binders that has the little slip here where you could slide it in, that would be great. Otherwise, you can hole punch it and put it on the inside of your binder. The binder has 4 different sections. You have your writing goals section, your writing tools section, the practice and progress section, and then finally, the writing resources section. If you want, you can use page protectors for these to help keep them durable all year. Otherwise, it's fine to hole punch them and put them in with the rest of the papers. The first section is the writing goals. In this section, this is where your students are going to be coming up with, developing, and hopefully reaching different writing goals throughout the year. So there are several different goals that they can work on, and you in your writing conferences are going to help your students come up with those goals. The first set of goals are called writing presentation goals, and these are goals that help students focus on how their actual writing looks. And I have a couple suggestions here, but you might also add some more here. And it helps students to see what the possible goal is and when it would be appropriate to choose that goal. So there's a little bit of guidance there. There are also writing behavior goals, writing structure and organizational goals, writing convention goals, and spelling goals. And then at the beginning of each month, or however often you're doing this with them, they will write the month, the goal that they're going to be choosing to work on. You and your student will come up with a plan of action, and then at the end of the month, they will reflect to see how they've done and if they need to tweak the goal or switch it out if they've reached it, or whatever you want them to do there. So that is the goals section. The writing tools section is a list of resources that students can use to help them improve their writing or to help them do certain writing stages in their writing process. So the first page here is the what should I write about section. Students can use this just as a writing prompt tool, and it's broken down in according to categories of the different writing genres. So there's different writing prompts for explanatory writing, opinion writing, narrative writing, response to literature, creative writing, and research writing. So students can use that as they want, or you could direct them to a specific one if you're working on a particular writing piece. Say on Fridays, you might have them do free write, but you still want them to be writing within the writing genre that you're working on as a whole class. You could address, or you could send them to that particular section in their what should I write about pages. The next page is your revising and editing checklist. This is something that you can either provide a fresh copy every time they do a writing piece and they can actually physically check off, or you could just have this as a reference sheet for students to go down the line to make sure that they're doing all of the necessary steps for revising and editing. So this is something that they'll use all year long in the writing tools section. Then there are some editing symbols that students can use. They can use this as a reference page to know how to edit their writing so that either when they're peer editing or editing their own papers, they know what types of symbols to include when they go to actually write their final copy. They'll know what they're supposed to be correcting. Another reference sheet is the delicious writing. This is something that you may use when you are teaching proper structure of a paragraph. So this is a nice reference page for them to have in there as well. There's the use your senses page that helps give some vocabulary variety, and they can use their sense words to help them make their writing more appealing and more interesting. The use this, not that is another page to help them with their vocabulary to replace boring words with more exciting ones. There's also a section here for them to add their own vocabulary words that maybe you want them to add in or that they come across and want to remember. So they can put that there. Then there is a writing process sheet here that outlines all of the different things that happen during each stage of the writing process. And it goes onto the back as well for editing and publishing. And if you want to add any other writing tools, sheets that students may reference throughout the year, you can put that here. The third section is the practice and progress section. Here, they're going to keep track of all of their writing conferences. So each time you meet with students, you'll date it. You'll put any conference notes in, things that you discussed during their conference, maybe model a strategy or two here, and then give them some action steps for what you'd like them to complete before you go to your next conference. And you can indicate here when that conference will be so that students are prepared and ready for it. This next section is a spot for students to list out their ideas. If they are in the middle of a writing piece, but they have another idea for a future writing piece, they can keep track of it here so that they don't forget it. And then when they complete it, they can put that they've completed it, the date here, so that they know to move on to the next idea. And then here is where they can keep track of what stage they are in each writing piece that they do in class, whether it's for free writing or for an assigned writing piece. So here they would put the title, and then if they're in the pre-writing, once they've completed the pre-writing stage, they check it off. Once they've completed the drafting stage, they check it off, and so on. So it's a really nice way for you to do a quick glance to see where students are at each stage of their writing piece, and it also helps to keep them on track with where they need to be and where they're heading. And then finally, the last section is the writing resources section. This is something that you are going to be adding to throughout the school year, and I've included a table of contents here so that students can organize any writing handouts that you might give them that you want them to have access to. So they would date it, they would title the resource, and then as you give them the resource itself, they would put a number in the corner to kind of help organize it there. So they'd write page 1, page 10, whatever, and they would then hole punch it and put it at the end. This again is something that you're going to be adding to throughout the whole year. So if you are working on a particular writing genre and you have a reference sheet that you want them to have access to at any time, they could add it to their writing resources section. So that is your writer's notebook, how to assemble it and use it with your students.